lighting, though.
Okay. All right.
Okay. If y'all knew the shit we've gone through just to make this review.
Yeah.
Oh, this is ugly lighting.
Yeah. Well, that ain't much better.
I'll just like.
Well, you can just set it there if you want. Just put it there. Yeah. Can you get that to work? Try setting it behind it just to try not to knock it over.
Can't promise. No, that's too scary.
Okay.
No. I'll be in half of the shadow for this
Well, I
review.
don't. Here, it's okay. Here we go.
No.
Here we go. That works.
Yeah, that works. We just can't touch it now.
Okay.
Like I said, the things we've gone through to get to this review. It's been an adventure just getting this whole thing set up.
Yeah, this is a very look. I got my that's my gear shift right there, and that awful shot right there.
No.
There we go. Okay, that works right there. That shot. There we go. That's perfect. Just sit right there. Okay.
Excellent.
We went and saw last night in Soho.
Yeah.
And it was good. I liked it.
It was good. I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it.
Yeah, I'll get to that. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about this movie is about a young fashion student played by Thomasin McKenzie. I think that's how you say her name. I've seen her in quite a few things. I really liked her.
This would be about the first time. I think the first time I've seen her.
She was in, if you saw Jojo Rabbit, she was in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's like, I know who she is.
She was in a really great movie I loved called Leave No Trace with Ben Foster. Mm-hmm. That was really good. She plays this fashion student who has a lot of emotional baggage. She had a mom she lost to her mom. Committed suicide, right? Mm-hmm. And she moves. She's obviously very naive, very young, and she grew up, in like the countryside of England. And she comes to London to pursue fashion, and she doesn't really fit in immediately right away. And she's very shy and timid, and she loves like stuff from the 60s. Mm-hmm. Well, she ends up pretty soon after moving into her own place, begins to see visions every night and wakes up in the body of a young aspiring singer played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who basically she identifies with because she had a lot of the same thing. She had a dream that was something that she also had a dream that, I'm trying to think how to word this, that just didn't come into fruition.
Didn't come into fruition the way that she thought it would have.
Yeah, and as she wakes up every night in the body of this girl, she she ultimately believes that the girl was ultimately murdered by a guy who was basically pimping her out, played by Matt Smith. And what you end up with is kind of this combination of almost something like, I think I mentioned this before, Midnight in Paris crossed with like Suspiria, the original Suspiria by Dario Argento. But it's really not entirely that, especially as it gets down to the end.
I did not see that twist coming at all. I was a little shocked.
Okay. My thing about that's exactly where my problem with this movie is. I did see it coming.
oh man. I must be really bad at noticing things.
Man, okay. Here's the thing. Okay, we've been talking about this movie for a while. I think every single one of these videos we did, you and I brought up this movie at least once. We got the trailer because we bought the trailer for it constantly. Mm-hmm. We got at least 2 different trailers for it quite often. And we've been looking forward to this movie, and it's from a director I really love, Edgar Wright. Never seen anything short of a wonderful film from him. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim, Baby Driver, World's End. All really, really good films. And now that we've finally seen this movie, I'm like, we were so excited to see this, and I'm like, it is very good, but it's not everything I hoped it would be.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, with the twist at the end, like, I felt like it came a little out of left field.
Yeah. Okay, one of the things...
I mean, maybe not entirely out of left field, but definitely it did not go the way I thought it would, or maybe even should have gone.
First of all, let's say what we love about this film.
Yes.
Okay. this is a very pretty film.
Very beautifully shot.
Very pretty film. I love the everything about it. Every shot is very glittery and pretty and
every shot's
composed.
A piece of art.
Composed, yeah, not quite to the level you see in like some like art films, stuff by like Roma or something like that. But like it is very like it's very detailed, and that's thanks largely also to the production design. It's very immersive in this 1960s atmosphere that she keeps waking up in every night. It really takes you back, and it like the first, even the beginning of this movie is very slow, but once it takes you into this time jump back to it's like just sinking into a warm bath. It's just such a pleasant experience. Just the visuals and the music. Oh, music played a great role. This is one of the best uses of music I've seen in probably a horror / psychological thriller ever.
Oh yeah.
I love that about this film. And I'm trying to think of something else.
I loved how they played with the mirror image stuff.
Yeah.
That was extremely well done.
Yeah, and then once this murder mystery plot takes off. That's what I was really getting. I was really into this film for the first probably 2/3 of it. This murder mystery, as where she basically thinks that because she keeps waking up as this girl, and she at first you can tell that she loves it because it's everything she loves. It's 60s, it's fame, it's beauty. It's all these things that she loves and that she inspires from. Yes, it's things that she loves, and she's like basically living the dream, which is what she's came to London for. And when she realizes she doesn't fit in modern day London, this is the dream come true for her, waking up in this surreal fantasy. Until as she begins to relive the experiences of this aspiring singer who ends up wanting to play, be the headliner in nightclubs, but ends up having to succumb to basically being a backup dancer in like a burlesque show before eventually realizing you have to sleep with all these male clients for money as well. Which I think Edgar Wright portrays that very well in this. I don't think he just blatantly just dumps that onto you like, he definitely, he shows it.
Well, and because this is something that's, not just from the 60s. This is happening nowadays.
It is it reminds me a lot of it reminded me a lot of David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. That movie is very much an allegory on the ways in which Hollywood particularly with naive young starlets, tends to suck them in and then chew them up and spit them out. That was kind of, and that's very much what this is kind of looking at. And like Edgar Wright, he shows you how this, there's this shot where as she's trying to, when things start going bad, she tries to flee out of this reality, but all she does is as she runs away, next thing you know, she's just back in this room where she's laying in bed with a bunch of 10-pound notes, which is like their money. I think that's what, pound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Laying on the dresser with a guy in his underwear walking out of the bathroom. It implies it shows you exactly what you need to know there with that very disturbing scene. And
without getting gratuitous about it.
Yeah.
That's a problem with most films, is that they tend to get gratuitous about it.
Yeah. And then eventually she ends up seeing the girl be murdered by her pimp, played by, I think I already mentioned this, Matt Smith. And and she's convinced at some point that he's also still out there and is now stalking her, as she's even began to try to replicate this singer in her real life, changed her hair to match her. She's designing a dress like the one that she wears, the pink. And she's convinced that this killer is out there now stalking her. But that is probably the point in which this movie starts to fall apart for me.
Yeah, because when they revealed that the guy who she thought was the killer was not. He was an undercover cop from a previous flashback who had talked to Sandy.
And I knew that. The minute they introduced him, when she's in that scene where they keep playing the same thing where, what's your name? And she's sitting in the booth with different guys. I knew once they showed that one guy and they lingered on him for too long, I'm like, that's going to be the Terrence Stamp guy. He's played by Terrence Stamp, who, was General Zod back in Superman 2, way back in the day. I'm like, that's going to be him, and that's going to be the twist, and that, like, and then you find out. Well, I would say this: I did not see the entire thing coming with her dying or not really dying.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that entirely coming, but I did feel like as this movie starts to wind down, I found that it did start to become very predictable, very quick. And it also stopped being very tense or psychologically intriguing. And one of the things that is because one of the things also that starts to come out of this movie isn't just this sense of like fear and paranoia that is established very early on in the film. You have that scene when she gets to the convenience store, when she gets in the taxi cab. I swear, I think that guy, isn't that guy supposed to be the same guy that Matt Smith punches in the club years earlier? The taxi.
Yeah, I
was kind of thinking that too, and they never really bring him back up anywhere in the movie, I don't think. But no? I do think that's who that was supposed to be, because when she gets into a taxi cab at the very beginning of the movie, and she's so glad to be in London, her grandmother has already told her, be careful going to London because there's some really rotten apples out there.
Yeah, and then the taxi driver just starts creeping on her.
Immediately she gets in this taxi cab, you get this sense of, I'm very uncomfortable with this guy talking to me. He's like, you'll see a lot of me around because I'm always giving the pretty ladies a ride.
You should be a model. You have the legs for it. Oh, God.
And then she's like, just let me out here. And then like she's waiting and she can see him in his cab still just out there while she's in the store trying and just hoping for him to leave. Like that was some like really good stuff there. Like, it's like in Rosemary's Baby, the phone booth scene in Rosemary's Baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's some shit you hear about in Let's Not Meet Again stories.
Yeah, I liked that part. But then they start doing this thing later on where she keeps seeing the visions of all these men, and that honestly got really tiresome for me because it stopped being like scary and got to be where it would just be really loud constantly, just this loud, like it's one of these things that a lot of the bad horror films of today do, where they stop being scary and just start putting in bangs and clangs and constant poundings and it just it's not it doesn't like it doesn't like spin your head in like the psychological way the way something like Black Swan does. It just becomes irritating, and that's what and to me that's where that was for such a visually sensuous film. There was some parts where this movie, it was like listening to a symphony, like a beautiful symphony, and every once in a while hearing somebody drag nails on a chalkboard every once in a while. That's what I can basically describe about this movie. It was brilliant until it suddenly wasn't.
Yeah, and again, like, there's a lot that's good about this movie. It's the plot went in a direction that maybe could have been edited a little, or maybe could have been written a little better.
I thought that too, because when you finally get down to the reveal in this film, about the landlady, that's when I began to feel like this movie's maybe now. I feel like this movie's kind of pulling the rug out from under you, because it basically turns into, and I'm still very confused on some of these things, like with the vision, like did you notice that like maybe when that scene when she runs up to the her room and you have like the arms coming up out of the floor, and then suddenly
pose revenge.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. You realize that's kind of the same ending to Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. Remember when you find out at the end the zombies aren't the bad guys?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
I was thinking Scooby-Doo Zombie Island at the end of this movie.
I did not like that at all, because, like, it's like, oh, so they're suddenly now supposed to be sympathetic, but then, like, they're not? But wait, what? What movie? What are you trying to tell me I'm supposed to feel right now? It was
puzzling. It was very... The last act of this movie is very puzzling. It's and not in a good way.
It feels a little.
I don't feel.
It feels rushed at the end. Like it was building so good, and then it felt rushed.
Well, not so much rushed for me as much as it feels like it paints itself into a corner. That's what I would say it paints itself into a corner, and then it has nowhere to go, so it kind of goes through this very out there sort of ending. Because it just doesn't know how to end. It just doesn't know how to end. And so it doesn't stick the landing. It does not stick the landing.
It's one of those instances where it's like the actions of the characters start to become a little confusing. It's like, so why would she try to poison her if she's completely sympathetic with her plight. It's like, it's not like she's actually.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's because she's worried about her secret getting out.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
It gets, like, motivations start to get a little confusing.
Yeah, I would have liked this. I would have liked this movie a lot more if it felt like, if it was more assured in how it ends. Like, it just doesn't, it lacks real assurance. Like, I'm like, yeah, it stops getting scary and it stops getting tense, and then suddenly it's a very dissatisfying ending to something that I felt like should have been way more inventive and surprising than it was.
Yeah, pretty much. And now I will say, this movie does really good at having very anxiety-inducing scenes.
It is.
The part where she sees the vision of Jack stabbing Sandy, like, the way that was edited, I was just like...
Yeah, it is. It does a very good job. It doesn't overdo gore.
Yeah.
And that works because when there suddenly is these sudden, very violent scenes, they work.
Yeah.
Because you're not constantly beaten over the head with constant violence. Mm-hmm. That when there is violence, it works more effectively.
Because it builds up really, really, really good. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say up until the point where the undercover cop dies.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of starts going in many different directions.
And like I said, I knew when she's sitting there like, I know what you did. I'm like, this doesn't affect me in any way because I already knew that you never want to be ahead of your main character. Mm-hmm. You know, you're experiencing a movie from the point of view of a main character, and you would never want to be too ahead of them. And I feel like something else that maybe also kind of hurts this movie a little bit is obviously Edgar Wright is a very fast-paced director. He's a very fast-paced director. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like Guy Ritchie, although he probably is a little more balanced than Guy Ritchie. I love Guy Ritchie films, at least the ones I really like. But then there's some Guy Ritchie films that, like the King Arthur Legend of the Sword, that I just don't like. But like stuff like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I love. Mm-hmm. Edgar Wright, he's very fast-paced and very snappy, and there's a lot of that in this. And I feel like one of the things that he's maybe not the right director for this kind of a film is because one of the things that makes really great psychological thrillers is the sense of dread, and you kind of have to hold on to something for a very long time to create a sense of dread, and that's hard to do when you move as fast paced as he does. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that kind of maybe feeds into your thing about it feeling kind of rushed. Mm-hmm. A little bit. Yeah,
because I mean, it feels like the reveal could have had more build up. Because I mean, honestly, for me, like I didn't see her having been Sandy, the landlady.
I didn't either. But then you're suddenly like, as soon as they start bringing out these letters, she's like, look at those letters. Like as soon as they start doing this, you're like, this lady has a secret, and then suddenly she literally sits down and explains everything to the girl, the main girl.
Yeah, and it honestly could have been more like she could have just, like, had cues. Like, I would have liked it if, I got, like, you know, the main girl was in a state of utter panic and probably wouldn't have gone down this line of thought, but, like, maybe she started questioning the landlady about stuff and, like, actually with us, like, draw out information.
Yeah. Because she asks her at one part, did a girl die in this room? And she's like, it's London, sweetheart. Someone has died in every room of every building of this town. And then suddenly, at this very last scene, when she's like, there is some truth to that. And then there's suddenly this shot of, like, an envelope with her name on it, the girl, the singer's name on it.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, that's this landlord's real name, lady's real name, and she's the girl.
I definitely feel like that could have been pieced together a little better to make it more effective. Where like she, despite like landlady's not up to like giving out anything, but the main character just notices all these things and then starts to get in your head like, wait, this lady knows more than she's letting on, and then starts to question her, extracting that exposition that the audience wants, and then that way we're following along with the main character's train of thought. All the reveals in this movie I either saw coming or hit you so quick that they feel contrived.
that's where this movie hurts. Yeah, this is 2/3 of a fantastic film upended by 1/3 of a final film. In other words, this is the Dark Knight Rises of psychological thrillers.
Oh.
This is a better movie than Dark Knight Rises. I will tell you that. I hate Dark Knight Rises. Some people think Dark Knight Rises is okay.
That's the one with Bane, right?
I hate Dark Knight Rises. I do, because it's.
Yeah, I've heard it had like an ending that people were just like.
It's rushed through.
Like what Bane was actually under the thumb of like what, Talia al Ghul?
Kinda also, but also, well, the entire movie it really isn't that great, because honestly Bane himself is just a watered down version of the Joker from Dark Knight. And just the whole plot is very, like, Catwoman's underused. There's a lot of plot holes that you start to see. Like, how did Batman suddenly get into a Gotham City without any of his equipment when Bane locked down the city of Gotham when he took over?
Right.
Like, it just feels very, it's just because he's Batman, so he's able to just do it. Like, Dark Knight Rises, the whole last act of Dark Knight Rises is awful. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't just absolutely disappointing like I was with, like, Candyman, but it's not as great as I liked Malignant a lot more than I liked this.
Yeah, like, I think, because I think, like, the reveal of Malignant felt like they had built that up.
I felt like I did not think about, like, I did not realize that she had this thing in her head until right as that camera started coming around, and that's the point you should. Yeah.
I will admit, I've spoiled that before. Like, I kind of knew what was happening before I went into the movie. I'm sad I did, but even then, the reveal was still freaky as shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that film also had its own fair share of problems, but I feel like in terms of, like, twists...
Yeah. I feel like that movie had a little bit too much going on.
Oh yeah,
at times.
Well, especially with those action scenes.
Yeah, constantly. Like, and we even talked about that. Like, I still have not figured out why he can control electricity or why he can talk to you through a Playmobil phone or whatever that was.
Yeah, I guess, like, you know, it's kind of like he's saying it's like, or at least like. Or James Wan's thing coming from, like, the Conjuring universe and about all that stuff, it's like, you kind of have to have, like, a supernatural element. I guess it was just, like, to keep you guessing, but even then, it's like, that is a bit of a plot hole.
Yeah.
Rating?
3 out of 4 for me.
I'd say 3 out of 4.
Yeah. It's not fantastic, but it's definitely good looking. It reminds me a lot of, like, kind of, like, the more mid-tier Tim Burton movies, when he kind of got to that point where he was, like, making stuff that was very good looking and very imaginative, but had no substance to it. That's what this is. This movie is very much style, but not nearly as much substance.
Yeah, because it has a lot of pieces that are really, really good and are very well assembled during, again, the first 2/3 of the film, but then they just started
not enough to make it all the way to the end.
Yeah,
is what I felt. Yeah, this is a pretty good movie. It's not one of my favorites of the year, which is kind of sad because I was kind of hoping it was going to be.
Yeah. You know, it's good if you're looking for something that will make you feel anxiety, if you are looking for something that's visually pleasing.
Yeah.
And then in terms of story, it's like, it's fair. I'd say it's fair, at least.
Personally, like I would say if you really want to watch one that's, like, really just disturbing all the way through and really hits you emotionally as well, Titane is available on, like,
I've been
Amazon and iTunes. It won the Palme d'Or this year at Cannes. It's by the lady who did Raw a couple years back.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, you never saw that one?
Yeah.
Titane. Oh, I like Titane. Titane might actually be on my top 10 list this year. I really liked Titane a lot.
I'll need to give that a look.
Yeah, you can rent it off, like, Amazon. I think it's on Amazon. I did it on iTunes, but I think it's probably on Amazon too. You can rent it for like $6 or $7. Like, I like that a lot.
Is it a French film?
It is French. Yes.
Cool. Okay, then that means I'll be watching it by myself unless it's dubbed because my parents won't.
Nah, it's disturbing. That movie is disturbing.
Well,
it's about a lady who literally gets impregnated by a car, and then she ends up, after she commits a murder, she flees and disguises herself as the missing son of this I think he's a firefighter. He was a firefighter. Yeah, firefighter, who is just so emotionally distraught over losing his son many years earlier that he basically accepts that this is his son. All the while, she's slowly trying to hide up the fact that she's got a stomach coming out, and she's like menstruating motor oil. Like, oh my god, this movie, it is the most out there movie I've seen in a while, and I loved it.
That's a bit out of left field.
It's crazy. It is so crazy.
Like Stephen King-ish.
It is Stephen King, but it is actually, it's very emotionally affecting. It's disturbing. It's like body horror, but also like very human drama. Like it's because it's like it's very much a movie that focuses on like trauma. It's very much about it's very much an allegory on like emotional trauma, and among other things, there seems to be kind of debate on what is it about gender identity? Is it also a story about other things? Is it it's a lot of it's a very big debate film. So overall, Last Night Soho, perfectly fine. Definitely my least favorite Edgar Wright film. It's decent.
It's decent.
Yeah.
Like I'd say like if you could see it in theaters, I definitely would say see it in theaters because it's probably the best visually and musically appealing way to watch
Great
it.
production design.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess if we want to do trailers, yeah. Okay. First one, Morbius, which I forgot this was like a thing that was coming out.
I like what they dropped a trailer back in
a while back,
like 2019.
It was supposed
to early 2020.
It was supposed to come out this year, and then it just got pushed back.
Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, I've seen stuff for this a while back, and now it's coming back.
Because it was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, a 2020 film, but then COVID hit. And then when we started getting the overflow, I guess they didn't want to have to compete with every other Marvel film that they decided to release this year, because they're releasing like 3 or 4 of those. Oh yeah,
there's been like a landslide of Marvel films.
So they're having to keep it back. Morbius, I really honestly just don't care.
Yeah, that's
because one thing that's about this is it's connected to this Venom thing that I thought was appalling. I have not seen Let There Be Carnage. It's not something I'm going out to see. It's not something I'm going to demand that I see by the end of the year. Just because I saw the first one back in 2018, I think it's maybe the second worst superhero movie I've seen in the last 10. Probably after the 2015 Fantastic Four is probably the worst superhero movie I've seen.
Right.
It was just awful. It felt outdated. It felt like if you'd told me it had been made in 2006... I would have believed you, because that's how the special effects look. That's how the tone is. It's not even funny. It tries to be funny. It's not funny. It's corny and childish.
Oh my god.
It's not funny.
Was it trying to be Deadpool?
It was trying to be Deadpool, but like a sanitized PG-13 Deadpool, but also something that reminded me of like All of Me with Steve Martin, where he gets Lily Tomlin's ghost trapped in his body. It was trying to be that. And I hate how they advertised that movie like it was going to be Jekyll and Hyde, like a body horror film. Right. And then it comes out and it's a friggin' joke. Yeah, I don't care about Morbius. I don't care. I do not care about this Morbius thing, especially now that they've also announced not only that, but Venom is now apparently part of the MCU through this Spider-Man multiverse they're doing. Fuck that. Don't shoehorn your mediocre wannabe franchise into something that has worked 11 years to get where it is.
You have a bone to pick with that. Which, I mean, I can understand why.
I don't care about this Morbius thing. Because there's even like... And I think this Morbius thing is the same way. And it's because there's literally like a shot of like a Spider-Man poster in this trailer we just got. And then there's also Michael Keaton. And I don't know if he's supposed to be playing Vulture, or if they just have him in this movie playing somebody else. But I would not be surprised now that they have officially made this Venom thing part of like the Spider-Man connected to the MCU.
I mean, probably. It's. I have a feeling it might be a way to just kind of like, because there is definitely a bit of a drop in interest in Marvel movies these days. I mean, obviously there's interest, or you know, people wouldn't be going to theaters to see it, but
and if not,
I feel like it might be like a new way, like a new universe. Like now they've gotten all the Avengers out of the way. Now they have like the Dark Universe coming in, I guess, like pick up the slack. But it's like I feel like there's just kind of been an overload recently, and I I know I'm personally a little tired of it.
I am too. And if that isn't enough, the fact that Eternals is getting really... have you heard about this whole Eternals thing where it's like really getting...
Not great
It's not... It's the first time I have ever seen one of these...
I've heard it's like one of the lowest ranking ones.
I mean, and Rotten Tomatoes is not something I count on to give reliable... I mean... Darren Aronofsky's The Fountain has like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I love that film.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something that it's just weird to me that this is like the first Marvel movie ever that isn't just getting its ass kissed. Like Shang-Chi, whatever, and the Who Gives a Shit, like, was once again another one of these things that they always say it's the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Shang-Chi is 100% acceptable, like 90% of Marvel films. I just think they get more credit than they deserve, is what I feel about Marvel films sometimes. And basically, yeah, Eternals, it's just a surprise to me. And I'm like, I still want to see it just because I want to see what Chloe Zhao, somebody who makes like art films, does with a Marvel film. So I'm interested in maybe if she just maybe made something that was over people's heads.
Yeah, I mean,
there's always that possibility.
There's definitely that possibility because her stuff, just based off Nomadland, is definitely not for the general crowd.
The Rider was literally a biographical film where she got the guy who the movie's about to play himself in the film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And that was like one of my favorite movies.
And I'm sure that Eternals is probably, just based on what I've seen of Chloe Zhao's work, I'm sure it's visually stunning.
It's visually stunning, and I'm sure it might be. I wonder if there's maybe also not a lot of action in it. If maybe she made it more of a drama film, kind of like Nomadland, kind of this impressionistic drama.
Which is like based on the trailers, feels like that would kind of be what the story would be.
But so yeah.
Then again, I haven't read the comics.
So yeah, if we want to circle back around, Morbius, don't give a crap.
The 355 was
the 355. This looks like this will be something that they're really gonna tout, and then I feel like it looks like generic. It looked like it's gonna be one of the things they're really gonna push for, into this, post John Wick kind of, because what was it saying? It's from the people who did some Jason Statham. Was it Bourne Identity? It was Bourne Identity. Yeah, it's gonna be these things they're gonna really push it out there like it's the next big action thing, and it's gonna come out and it'll be fine at best. It just based on the trailer, it felt extremely generic. Why do they they were literally putting this trailer together where it's literally like explaining the movie to you, like not just showing you what it's about, but like where it's like we're from different countries. And then it was like editing things like we have a common enemy now. We have to work together. Like it was literally like it was. Did you catch that? Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah. But now I have no interest. I don't care for that either. Like that just looks like it's something about like these 5 women spies from like different countries. Mm-hmm. Fantastic cast. Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, fantastic cast. Mm-hmm. It just looks like it's going to be. It looks like every one of these like action movie that Ryan Reynolds puts out every year. It feels like Ocean. Like what was the Ocean's 8, which was the female-led one. Yeah, Ocean's 8 crossed with Charlie's Angels. Yeah. Or the newer Charlie's Angels, not the old Charlie's Angels. Is anybody talking about either of those anymore? No. Exactly. So 355. It feels like it's been done before. It feels like it's been done before and done better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not interested in that. Not interested. We got some just very unimaginative ones. Mm-hmm. We got the Matrix Resurrections, which we've seen before. I'm approaching with caution. This with caution. I don't know what your love the use of White Rabbit though. I wonder what is your experiences with Matrix? I have never seen the Matrix. You've never seen any of them. Okay. I've only seen snippets. The first one is the only one worth watching. I will tell you that. I will go off that. The first one is the only one worth watching. The other 2 are absolute garbage. That's why I don't know how this one's going to turn out. So do you think it's going to be like what all the other franchise movies are doing now, where they're going directly off the very first installment? Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. One of the things that's really going to be weird is that obviously special effects have changed since the days that the first, the original 3 came out. And so already visually it doesn't match the originals. But I don't know, that might be a good thing because there's some stuff in the other Matrixes that hasn't aged well, so maybe that's a good thing. Right. Yeah, The Matrix is a fantastic movie. The first one, fantastic. I love it. Then the other 2, they didn't know where to go. They were just it got way too much into this lore that was confusing and convoluted and wasn't interesting, and that was where those started to suck. And yeah, there is not a lot of there's not even any they're not even close to like the original. Like there's some that are like Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters. You had Ghostbusters, and you have Ghostbusters 2, which isn't good, but it's close enough. Matrix, there's no competition what the best Matrix is.
It's always gonna be one.
Yeah. Matrix Resurrections, Morbius, 365. And what was that last one we got?
Belfast.
Oh, I do want to see it. You and me will do this one, and we'll see if some of our friends want to go see this one.
Yeah, that one was very interesting.
I was reading about this one. That is probably this movie it's about like a coming of age story, and it's supposed to be semi-autobiographical. Kenneth Branagh, who made it, he's the guy who did like a lot of Shakespeare stuff in the 80s and 90s, and then he started making like Thor. He did the first Thor. He did the 2015 Cinderella. And this is supposed to be like I thought I'd heard it's supposed to be somewhat based on his own childhood growing up in Ireland or somewhere during like was that called the Troubles? I'm not very well versed in Irish history, but
I know that I think that was around the time when there was like a civil war.
There was like going
on.
You had certain people from Northern Ireland and people from the rest of Ireland who were kind of
and I know
didn't like each other for certain reasons. Because it was something about parties, and it kind of divided along parties and along religion between Protestants and Catholics. And I can't remember what it was, but like for some reason, I guess Catholics identified with one party and the Protestants identified with another party, and that was
that car scene was like where the car exploded. It was very jarring because that's something that actually happened during that time, and there's like a photo to go with it. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing that. I've heard really good things about it. Like, and so it looks very good. It looks like a way. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It looks like a way less annoying version of Jojo Rabbit. I don't know what you thought of Jojo. What did you think of Jojo Rabbit?
I liked the parts that didn't involve Jojo. I enjoyed the adult characters, I think, more than I enjoyed the kid characters. And Taika Waititi's always a joy when he's on screen.
Okay, see that? Okay, I liked everything before the first maybe 20 minutes. Okay,
it was very much not my favorite Taika Waititi.
Once it started getting into, once it took off, I'm like, okay, this is kind of fun. Like it's obviously it's like imitation Wes Anderson, but I was fine with it first, and then I'm like, okay, this is just one note. It's so one note of a movie.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it still had, like, its moments. Like,
it had charm to it.
I will forever laugh at that scene where, the soldier guy was, like, making out plans for his design for a suit and a gun that would intimidate American soldiers. Yeah. And he actually comes out with it during that, like, huge, like, battle scene. And I'm just like... that will forever make me crack up.
Yeah, it had some funny stuff in it, but man, there was some stuff that just got on my nerves after a while. Like, even like the stuff where he's dressed as Hitler constantly, that stopped getting funny after. Okay, it was funny for about 20 seconds, and then it stopped. And then I'm like, it was just repetitive after that. Like, I wish there were tons of people who loved Jojo Rabbit. I wish I was one of them.
I would say I liked it. I'd say it was a fair movie. There were definitely a lot of things that, made me laugh. There were definitely a few things that really hurt. Like the moment when he found out his mother had gotten hung.
Well, see,
that was jarring. That was very jarring.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I didn't like that. And it's because, like, it starts out as, like, this weird farce, and then suddenly, oh, she's dead. Like, it was very tonally inconsistent.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is World War II Germany. Yeah. It's kind of supposed to be jarring.
Yeah, I thought that was such a I don't know, that movie really just let me down. Like, and what was really upsetting to me is I thought Knives Out was such a better film, which it has a lot of similarities to. And I thought Knives Out should have gotten this, like, the Best Picture nomination that Jojo Rabbit got, I felt should have gone to Knives Out.
Oh, 100%.
And yeah, but. So yeah, we'll talk about doing Belfast, because that comes out, I think, in maybe 2 weeks or so. We'll talk about doing it. We'll find where it's playing. We'll do Belfast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So up next is French Dispatch.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's one I think. Maybe this Friday, hopefully, unless we have to reschedule. We were supposed to see this over a week. We were supposed to see what?
Yeah, and then like a million things.
We were supposed to go. Yeah, we were supposed to go see this Tuesday, and then we had a friend who had to call off, and then I had completely forgot that I had a birthday dinner to go to that night that we had already rescheduled. You got sick, so we were like, oh, let's do it Friday or Saturday, and then you got sick. And then
I had the immunization.
That's right.
I was taking a day off, which actually didn't hit me as bad as I thought it would, so I probably could have gone.
Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting.
So yeah, we were supposed to go see this like a week. So we're playing catch up with this. So yeah, hopefully this week we'll finally be, because I was kind of wanting to hopefully see French Dispatch by this point too. But yeah,
it's been a while coming.
So yeah, this week me, you, and Wes Anderson.
Yes.
I'm hopefully looking forward to it, because
I'm gonna have to watch a few more of his films to just get me in the mood.
He's another one. I've never seen anything short of a film I didn't really like from him. Mm-hmm. I'm really hoping I don't have the same experience.
I know,
here.
me neither. I feel like Wes Anderson doesn't try to take himself too seriously in his films, which is half the magic.
That is probably also what I would say is maybe my problem with this is definitely Edgar Wright at his most just straight-faced, Mm-hmm. Because this is his first full-out horror film, and this is him at full straight face. And Wes Anderson's even talked about doing a horror film at some point.
And I'm gosh, I couldn't imagine.
I'm I don't know. Maybe you need to stick to comedy.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of almost written himself into a corner at this point, to where if he did do something that out of left field, it would almost feel too jarring.
Kind of like this.
Yeah, but I just love his comedy way too much.
I do too. At least he's interesting.
He could make a horror comedy, if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And I would still see it.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and sign off here. We've gotten all we can out. Mm-hmm. All right. Till next time.
Yep.